Good morning and a blessed Sabbath to you all. I hope the Lord has kept you well in your homes and you are of good health. On this particular Sabbath, for our offertory reading, I want us to consider the book of Samuel, and I want us to make use of one text. However, I will read the verses that precede it to give context. Our verses of consideration is 1 Samuel chapter 1 verses 22, and it reads thus: But Hannah did not go up, for she said to her husband, Not until the child is weaned, then I will take him, that he may appear before the Lord and remain there forever. I'll read it again. But Hannah did not go up, for she said to her husband, Not until the child is weaned, then I will take him, and he will appear before the Lord and remain there forever. Three things I want us to pick up from this text. The first one, not until the child is weaned. The second one is he will appear before the Lord. And the third one is he will remain there forever. I will now read a few verses that give context to this particular verse. 1 Samuel chapter 1 verses 5. But to Hannah he would give a double portion, for he loved Hannah, although the Lord had closed her womb. Verses 8. Then Elkanah her husband said to her, Hannah, why do you weep? Why do you not eat? And why is your heart grieved? Am I not better to you than 10 sons? Verses 14. So Eli said to her, How long will you be drunk? Put your wine away from you. But Hannah answered and said, No, my lord, I am a woman of a sorrowful spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor intoxicating drink, but have poured out my soul before the Lord. All right. Now, this is a very familiar story to all of us, and I want us to draw some lessons today from this particular text. Now, we know that there is this man called Elkanah who has two wives. The one is Hannah and the other is Peninnah. And the Bible records that Peninnah would torment Hannah because Hannah had no children. And in verses 5, the Bible not only tells us that Hannah did not have children, but it also tells us that the absence of children in her life was not as a result of her doing, but rather the fact that the Lord had closed her womb. So, in actual fact, the Bible is confirming to us that while Hannah was being tormented by Peninnah, she was not the reason for her own pain, but rather God had closed her womb. Now, instead of Elkanah understanding the situation between Hannah and Peninnah, he rather says to Hannah, Am I not better to you than 10 sons? Now, he is digressing from the real problem, because the real problem is barrenness. And he speaks of himself as if he can close that hole. Let me pause for a moment and say, there are longings in our heart that no human can ever feel. And only an answer from God can fill those needs in our life. Now I'm coming to our verse of consideration. Verses 22. But Hannah did not go up, for she said to her husband, I will not go up until my son is weaned. Now, you will remember that while she was praying in the temple, Eli then sees this woman praying and then says to her, Why are you drunk in the temple of the Lord? Now, it expresses that she was in so much grief that her countenance was like that of one who was drunk. And yet she was not drunk. Maybe let me pause for a moment and say, even those who look after our spiritual well-being will sometimes not understand the depth of our pain, the depth of our longing. But that is okay, because we are in the temple of God. So Eli says to her, why are you drunk? And she says, I'm a woman of a sorrowful spirit. And Eli then finally says to her, by this time next year, you will be of child. And the Bible then records something interesting, that when Hannah left the temple, she immediately stopped crying and began to eat, despite the fact that she was not eating before, which suggests that at the point when she left the temple, she had not received what she was praying for, and yet she was already behaving like someone who had received. She was operating in the realm of faith to say, I have not received, but because the Lord has promised, I will live in the confidence of that which I have asked for. Now, the Bible records that on the next year, as was his custom, Elkanah and his family were going up to the temple to give thanks to the Lord. And then Hannah now responds to her husband, and she says to him, which is our verse of consideration, I will not go up with you to the temple. I will stay behind, because the Lord has favored me and has given me this child who is Samuel. Now, and she then says, I will win him, and when he is weaned, then I will take him up to the temple to appear before the Lord, and then he will stay there forever. Now, you will appreciate that Hannah was praying for a son. Now, verses 22 does not make sense in the context that, why do you then take the gift that you were praying for and then give it back to the Lord? And she says, I will leave him there to stay in the house of the Lord forever. Now, allow me to make this one point, and we close this segment of the service. Hannah's prayer was not for a gift or a blessing, but rather Hannah's prayer was to be heard by God. And let me bring it to the context of offerings and tithe. The challenge of not returning is not a problem of not having received the gift, but the challenge of not returning is a problem of not being heard by God. You see, the problem with humanity, the problem with us, we cannot bring back, because we think God has not heard us, because it is the character and the nature of those who have been heard by God that they will take everything that they have received back to the one who has given to them. Therefore, the culture of giving, the culture of returning is a culture that emanates from those who know they have been heard. I don't know what it is in your life that you are praying for. I don't know your deepest longing. But my prayer today is that you may begin to see that God has heard you. Because when you understand that concept, everything else falls into place. Thank you. May the Lord bless you.